What's up, Brandon? How are you today, sir?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much.
Man, thank you so much for joining me on this fun little hobby. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but man, I'm having fun and I really appreciate you being here. So thank you very, very much.
Dude, thank you for the invite, man. When you sent me the message, I was like, no way. I'm going to be a part of this. Like, all right, I'm in. Let's do
Yeah.
it.
And I don't know what this is yet. I've already said a few times. I'm like, my mom's probably the only person that's gonna subscribe and watch it. But I'm excited for my mom to get to know you and anybody else that happens to check it out.
All right. This is for Bo's mom. Hey, how's it
Yep.
going?
Yep. Okay, so I want to introduce you to everybody. So, of course, I know I'm going to miss stuff because we've actually only met a handful of times, and it's really been in passing. I think the most time we ever spent together was like this past Spirit Sports, where we were backstage for like 9 minutes together, and that
Yep,
was like,
yep.
um, but I know you. Obviously, you're an incredible tumbling coach, and we're going to talk about the One Shot Gang. We're going to talk about that. That's one of my favorite things on social media.
All right. I
But
love it.
we're gonna talk about that later. But obviously, I know you from the One Shot Gang. I know you cheer currently, and previously you cheer at Cheer Force down in San Diego. You're on Infinity. Congratulations on your paid bid to Worlds, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, and I know that you coach tumbling at Cheer Force, and I know that you also do camps and clinics, all around the country and probably world. But obviously, I want you to tell everybody that doesn't know, my mom, tell her what else you do, what other hats you wear, and what other stuff you're into.
Okay, so yeah, I'm Brandon Hunter. I am the current tumbling director at Cheer Force San Diego. I've taken that role on for about 3 years now. I absolutely love my job. I love working with athletes. I am a very fast-paced coach, but I'm also someone who can coach in mass as well as take kids out of a mental box that they put themselves in, just due to the structure, due to, society today and them thinking they have limitations. I'm very, very good at putting out a helping hand and showing them like, dude, it's okay. Like you are so talented. Let's go down this rabbit hole. We're gonna have a good time. So I started that journey about 3 years ago. At Woodward West when that was open, I was a VIP there. I also worked at Jams Cheer and Dance. I was a head instructor there. Like you said, I travel around. I do camps and clinics all over the summer, which is an amazing thing for me. Just, I really want to help as much as I can. I don't necessarily like being tied down or forced to only work with one program. For me, it's all about helping athletes around the world. And as I've gone older and gone more and more involved in the industry, I've realized it's not just about the athletes, but I can help the programs. I can help the gym owners. Like I can help choreographers. I can expand into so many different realms. So I am very, very grateful and appreciative of like where I have made it in life. And I'm really excited to see where I go.
That's awesome.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Well, yeah, man. I'm very excited, and like I said, I've seen a lot of the stuff that you've done. Mostly on social media is where I see, and I've seen you in a bunch of different gyms, and I love also hearing that you can help get those kids out of any sort of mental box that they're in, and that you're able to work with and look forward to working with people at different levels and stages, and
Oh,
that's really, really
absolutely.
cool. That's awesome. Okay, so we're gonna dive right into it.
All right,
Excuse me.
let's do it.
I'm gonna ask you the first question, and I asked this of everybody, so I want to hear your story. When, where, and how did you get involved in the world of cheerleading?
All right. So I was about 16 or 17 years old. I went to a performing arts school. So we did not have sports at my school. And one of my buddies was like, dude, you got to watch MTV's Ultimate Parkour Challenge. So I put on one episode. It's 2 a.m. I finished the whole series. I'm out on my rooftop, climbing on, jumping off. My parents come outside, are like, what are you doing? I'm like, parkour. And of course, my mom is like, you need to wear a helmet. You need to go to a gym. You need to figure out what you're doing, right?
Yep.
So I ended up going to an open gym, fell in love with it, realized it was for me. My first time ever at an open gym, I got a back full and a front full. So I realized this was going to be the journey for me. After that, I called the gym the next day and I said, hey, I want a job here. And of course, they're like, who is this 16, 17-year-old kid? Like, what? And they were like, hey, you can come in, you can clean the gym, and then, you can have free access to, any classes, open gyms, and things like that. And I was very, very fortunate. It was a TNT gym called Flip Force San Diego, but they also offered parkour. And so here I am doing that for about 3 months. I became a parkour instructor. I'm starting to make some money. And then, again, 16, 17-year-old boy, they had cheer tryouts. There was a lot of cute girls. And I just went over to the coach and I was like, so, how do I get involved in this? Right? They're like, come on, come do it. And I was like, nah, there's no way. This is not for me. And then I did it, and I've never looked back. And honestly, I am very, very grateful for taking that leap and trying something where, a lot of people misjudge or, criticize about male cheerleaders. For me, I just thought it was a great fit and a great opportunity. And, I've created a whole career and lifestyle out of it. So I'm very, very fortunate.
That's awesome. Wow, what a cool
Thanks.
story. So just you saw it on TV and just
Yep.
hopped right in, and it was a transition from parkour immediately into cheerleading.
And I think that was one of the ways I was able to progress so quickly in the sport. I was very comfortable throwing a lot of my skills on concrete and outside. And, I wasn't necessarily using all of these mats. So once I was put into cheer, they're like, it's more structured, it's safer, all of these elements, that I didn't really have like a lot of like mental anxiety or performance anxiety due to also going to a performing arts school. I just felt very comfortable on the stage.
Yeah. Awesome. Wow, that's really cool. And what performing arts school was that?
So I went to the San Diego School of Creative and Performing Arts. I graduated as a theater major.
Okay.
Um, and I think that really helped me as a coach, not just an athlete, but being able to talk in front of large crowds, excuse me, feeling comfortable being around multiple individuals. Um, yeah, it's just been really, really helpful. Super small world. I'm actually going to share one more thing.
Yeah.
Um, I truly am a universe person, and I believe I was meant to be in cheerleading because in like first grade, I was watching the Bring It On movie, and that's when I got my very first kiss ever. And then full circle moment, who ends up coaching me? Annalisa Price, who
From
is in Bring It On. Yes, exactly. And then who choreographed it? Ray Jasper, who still to this day is a very close friend of mine. Like, I truly believe I was meant to be in the sport, and I didn't like realize it until I started looking back in my life and seeing all of those connections.
yeah. Wow. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, there's no such thing as a coincidence. Just no such thing. And yeah, that's so cool. What a cool full circle thing that like you watch that and you have that life experience that just stays with you forever, right? You probably know her first and last name, you probably remember all of that. And then here you are. That's so cool. That's very, very cool. And I got to get I got to get Ray on here. That's what I got to do.
Oh, that would be amazing. Oh, he's got stories to tell.
Oh, I'm sure he does. I am sure he does. Okay, so moving along, I want to ask you the next question, which is, what when you started, from when you started all the way to now, what teams and levels have you competed with in All Star Cheerleading?
Okay, so my first year ever, I was on a level 3 team with Cheer Matrix. Um, and that was just a smaller program that was out of that Flip Force TNT gym. They're no longer around. From there, I transitioned to San Diego State University. And that's where I met Jen Long, who is one of the owners of Cheer Force San Diego. That got my foot in the door. I then went to an open gym at California All Stars, San Marcos, and they asked, "Hey, do you want to go to Worlds? Like, you're pretty good." I didn't know what Worlds was.
Right.
Like, I had no idea. Like, I was like, "What?" They're like, "Dude, you can join the team. Like, we're going in like a month and a half. Like, you should do it." And so I was like, "All right, free trip to Florida. All right, like, yeah, I'll go do it. Why not?"
Let's go. Yeah.
So ended up doing that. That was in 2013. However, the dream team for me was always Cheer Force Infinity. When I was on Matrix, and I remember going to Jams Nationals, and I saw Brendan Matthews do a basket, and he just was incredible in it. I watched the entire performance, the tumblers, David. I had my boy Ian stunting, just watching all these incredible athletes come together and just this beautiful performance on the stage, I was like, that's the team for me. So then in 2014, 2015, 2016, I ended up doing Cheer Force Infinity. Um, I then moved up to Huntington Beach just to try a new start, a new life. Of course, again, someone asked last minute, hey, you want to join a team? Ended up doing PCM. I did Resurrection with them. Um, another thing happened. Someone gave me a phone call. Hey, you want to come join a team right before Worlds? Literally went to one practice, flew to Worlds, hit a full out. I was stoked. And that was Spirit Athletics in High Desert. And then I knew I wanted to end where I started. I wanted to go back home. I wanted to go to Cheer Force, which is truly what I would call my home. So in 2020, that was going to be my final year. And I went back home. I moved to San Diego, and then COVID happened. The world got shut down and it ended. And I was
Yeah.
like, I can't end like that. Like I feel like my story isn't done. And, then COVID took a little bit while, there was all these virtual things. So I ended up cheering again 21, 22, 23 with Cheer Force Infinity. And here I am again, 2024, Cheer Force Infinity. And I'm not sure when I'm going to be done.
That's awesome, man. Man, do it as long as your mind and body tell you to. Honestly, and yeah, I know that that's something that has been on, social media a lot in the last few years. Of like, retire. Everybody needs to give it up. It's like, dude, why would you? I mean, look at other professional athletes, right? Like they're doing it into their. I mean, Tom Brady was
Yep,
past 40 and he won a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It's like if your body and your mind are strong and they're telling you like, yeah, we can still do this. Do it as long as you can, man. Don't stop. And don't stop. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, that's so cool. And you brought up, dude, going back to no such thing as coincidences. Like all of the teams that you brought up, either I've also cheered on. You moved to Huntington Beach, which is where I lived for the largest chunk of my life.
Oh, wow.
And I think the only team you mentioned that I haven't been on was PCM. But if you were on Resurrection, you were cheering with Jordan. Did you cheer with Jordan? Was he on that team that
uh,
year?
no, not
Was
that year. That year he
was
wasn't.
was Travis on that team?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Travis Ledbetter, yeah, and like, there's so many dots that have connected our story. We've just missed each other just by a little bit, just by a little bit. That's awesome. But here we are now, baby.
Yep, full circle. And
That's awesome.
it's really cool too, just because, like you said, I am a very positive person. There are very, very few people who, to this day, can walk into a PCM, a California All Stars, a Cheer Force location, and feel welcomed and, have open arms. And I am very, very grateful. And I have learned from every single gym and every single program I've been a part of. And I'm just really thankful that I still have great relationships with everyone.
That's awesome. Well, and that's a testament not only to you but also to them.
Absolutely.
For you to have your time there, and to have the impact that you had to, them be welcoming you back, but then also those places to be a place where it's like anybody, yeah, come on in. Like we don't care where you're from. We don't care. Like if you're
Totally.
cheering here, you can still tumble here, and vice versa, and all that stuff. And
Yep.
yeah, that's very, very cool. Okay, so my next question is when I know you already touched on it a little bit, like at 16, you just went in for a job. Was that because you just wanted a job and you thought that was an easy one? Or when did you discover that like coaching was your passion? You're like, no, this is what I want to do forever.
So at 16, I asked for a job just because, you know, classes were expensive, man. Privates were expensive. Like, I'm just going to be straight up. And my mom was like, yeah, we're not paying for that. Like, figure it out if you want to do it. So I've always been a hustler. And that's why I just asked for a job right off the bat. And when they were like, yeah, you can just clean the gym and come for free, I took that opportunity right away. I think for me, I realized I was going to Woodward, and I love Woodward very, very much. But also, the thing about Woodward, you have these amazing staff there, and there's also weeks where the staff may not be as strong, for a certain week. And I just started realizing instead of everyone coming to me, I am Woodward. Like I'm a big presence in there. I could just start traveling to them, save them some cost, save them some money. I get to now go and travel. And that's when I really had the, okay, I think I'm going to create a career out of this. Like, this is it. Like, I'm going full force now. And then after that, just opportunities kept presenting themselves. And I think that was the real aha moment that I realized I was going to make a career out of this.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, like it's so cool that again we just keep missing each other by a little bit. So when you were at Woodward, so my mom was the program. I don't know exactly what her title was. My mom's Karen Matthews, and she
What?
was, yeah,
No
yeah.
way.
You didn't know that was my mom?
No, not at all. What?
Yeah,
Okay, now we're going full circle. That's
yeah, so like
crazy.
she does bookings or she did bookings for Woodward
Hmm.
West and not just on the gymnastics side, but she booked people on the cheer side, she booked people on, the BMX side and all the extreme sports. She did all that stuff. And I did a few, I don't know how many camps I did, but I did a couple Woodward things and I always
I actually think that's the first time we did meet was at
was that
Woodward.
and Cronin was there.
Yes, John Cronin was there.
That's what it
That was
was.
the first
There
time
we
we ever
go.
met. Was there? Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that's trapped in here that I just can't grab onto. So yeah, now that you mention it, I'm like, yeah, we totally met at Woodward West. Yeah.
Totally. Yep.
But yeah,
It's
that's my mom.
that is crazy.
I'll tell you said hi.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hi, Karen.
That's awesome. Okay, so now I want to get into, we kind of diving into you realize that you were, what people were coming to Woodward for and and they brought you out. But was there anyone that really influenced that? Like did anybody model that for you? Or maybe here's a better question. Who has influenced your, cheerleading and tumbling and coaching career the most? Like what is there anybody that stands out that like just really set a good example and you're like, you know what, this is what I want to do?
Um, hmm. I mean, I've had a lot of influential people that I've met along the way who, I feel as though were bright lights for me and allowed me to realize that it is possible to do it. Ray Jasper, seeing him, uh, Brendan Matthews, watching him, but I think my biggest support would have to go to my San Diego mom. She is the one who really just motivated me. If I have any questions about business or if I'm confused about certain things, she is the individual that I call and that I talk to. And she just helps guide me through it and lets me know that I am worth what I am worth. And I bring a lot to the table, not only as an instructor, but also as like a positive light, because in this day and age, those are getting harder and harder to find. So I think I do a lot of it because of her, but just seeing other great individuals making it happen allows me to realize I too can make it happen.
Awesome. And if you want to keep her name out of it, that's totally fine. But you only said San Diego mom. Is that a person? Do we know her? Is that something that's just for you?
No, so I mean that's just a whole other tunnel to go down, and we could dive into it another time. But my San Diego mom is Lisa Tate, and she is a wonderful, beautiful woman who has opened her arms up to me, and we started our relationship, I would say, in 2014. Yep. So it's been about 10 years since I've known her. And, I call her literally every single day. I go to her house. I hang out with who I call my pops, my San Diego dad. I work out with him 3 to 4 times a week. I am very invested in their family. Thanksgiving, Christmas, all the holidays I spend with them. They really adopted me, and I'm very very grateful for that.
That's awesome. That's
Yep.
really really cool. All right, and maybe we'll, I mean, if you want to get into it, we get into it. But now I'm curious, if you have San Diego mom and pop, is there a not San Diego mom and pop?
Yeah. So then there's my actual mother who lives in Florida, and my she's married to my stepfather who also lives in Florida. So those two are in Florida, but I've just been out in San Diego for I think I moved here in 2005, so 19 years I've been here. I drove them across country to go back to Florida, and I ended up staying here. And that's when my San Diego parents came into my life. And, you know, my, my, my real mom and my stepfather and my SD parents have a great relationship. They've met, and, they're very, very grateful and thankful for them, like taking me in, just being alone out here. So,
That's awesome. Well, that's really,
Yeah.
really cool. And man, I think that by itself has got to be a huge influence of like your graciousness and your generosity of spirit and
Oh,
time. It's like you've had that shared with you, and it's kind of like a pay it forward, but it's also instinctual because it's just how you've come up. That's really, really
oh,
cool.
totally. And it really shows too that like, I mean, I love my like mom and my stepfather, of course, but blood isn't necessarily family, right? Like
Right.
you can have brothers and sisters that are your ride or dies that aren't necessarily blood related, and I'm just very fortunate. That is for sure.
Yeah. And, how cool is it that cheerleading has been that vessel that brings those type of people, whether it's directly or indirectly, cheerleading is what has connected. I mean, just like you said, I have brothers and sisters that I only met through cheerleading, and I consider them family. Like we were there for each other for everything, the
Oh,
weddings, the
totally.
funerals, and everything in between. And yeah, it's very cool, man. That's awesome. I'm really digging your story, and this is
Awesome.
exactly why I wanted to do these. Is exactly this reason. This is really, really cool. Thank you for sharing all that cool stuff.
Yeah, of course, man. Thank you for bringing me on. I like I said, when I got the message from you, I was like, no, me? This guy? Oh,
Yeah,
dude, I'm
man.
in. Let's run it.
Okay, so now I want to get into, and we touched on it earlier. I
Okay.
want to get into the one shot gang. So I want to
Uh,
know, for those that have never seen it, first of all, you got to follow my man on Twitter, and we'll get to the handles and everything. Instagram, not Twitter.
yep, yep, yep.
We'll get to the handles and everything at towards the end. But for anybody that doesn't already know, tell us what is the one shot gang and how did it start and become what it is?
Okay, so the one shot gang, I was at Woodward West. We were eating at Ichiban Sushi, and my buddy was like, you can't double whip double when we get back. I was like, one shot gang, bro. I'm a dub whip dub. The second I walk into that gym, I ain't gonna warm nothing up. I'm gonna go dub whip dub. Like not a double whip. Like I'm going straight for it. And then it was with Dominic Furtado, and we went up there, and that's when we came up with the one shot gang. I landed it, and I was like, one shot gang, and I was like, oh, dude, that's kind of cool. And then we started playing with it a little bit, right, right, right. And then I'm just kind of a goofy guy for sure. So one of the kids was like, "Hey, did you realize you always say the same thing when you do a one shot gang?" I was like, "What?" I listened to the video, and this is how it goes. All right, folks, we back to a good old fashioned one shot gang. Let's get it. Will she make it? Oh, she did! And then if you land it, you high five. Your front hand does a front flip, and you hit the one
There
shot
it
gang.
is. There it is. It's the one shot game. And that voice, it's first of all, it's iconic. For anybody that's younger, they probably don't know where that I mean, I know what it's inspired by. It's inspired by like the Discovery Channel out in the wilderness,
Yep,
right?
yep,
It's
yep.
what was that Steve Irwin kind
Yep,
of
yep.
vibe.
Hawaii.
Yeah,
Yep, yep,
exactly. It's
yep.
got the Australian too. Yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it. And that's again, it's one of my favorite things on Instagram. I love seeing, the kids on there. And of course, you see the kids that some of them they're just embarrassed, right? Like they're like, I
Oh
can't
yeah.
believe he's putting me in this video. And then the ones that are like super hyped up and they'll get into it and they'll just hit that and I'm like, yeah.
Totally.
Dude,
And
I
and
love those.
it's just a fun opportunity too because like obviously like we'll be in a lesson, we're warming things up, we're having a good time, and it's usually they're like, I kind of want to throw a double right now, and I'm like, one shot gang? Are you trying to hit this? Like, you gonna hit it right now? Like, no warm up. Let's try it. And they're like, all right, yeah, yeah, I'm into it. So that's what it typically is, right? It's like you got one shot, one opportunity. Like, are you gonna do it? Are you gonna hit it? And like, it's just it brings the energy and it brings like a highlight whether they land it or don't, right? Like, because for me, I tell athletes all the time, I'm like, I'm so proud of you for throwing it. Like, you got to take the wins where you see them. Like, I don't care that you fell. Crash and burn is the way to learn, but like you threw it. You that is the hardest part is doing it, right? Like landing's easy. I can fix that later, but trying it, right? That is so important. And that's again where I'm like really good at getting kids out of their box because they put themselves down or they think, "Oh, I can never break through the ceiling." I'm like, "Dude, why not? Let's fall. I'll teach you how to fall. Let's fall so you're not worried anymore. Cool. Now you know how to fall. Let's just go for it." And I just had a lesson the other day, and you know, this athlete has been kind of struggling with her falls, and she threw her full and she landed, and I'm all pumped up. She's like, oh, that like wasn't good. Like my feet came apart. I was like, girl, you are being way too hard on yourself. Like, what? Like, do you not realize like you haven't been throwing this for a while now and you just threw it? I was like, don't worry about that. Like, you passed the class. Like, you did a B plus right there. Yeah, could it have been better? Could we have improved that skill? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, like, you did majority of it. Like, you got a B plus. Like, you're passing, and that's what we get to do. We just get to keep honing in on our craft and making it better, right? You
Yeah.
don't do it till it's right. You do it till you can't do it wrong.
Yes. Oh man, I love that. And I love the crash and burn to learn, right? Like I say, we'd say that as coaches, and I find myself, I say that to my kids. I got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and it's like they just eat it every day. If somebody's falling down the stairs or like slipping off the counter, they're just
It's
doing
like
something.
if they don't fall, something's wrong.
Right. And I'm just like, got to crash and burn to learn, man. And even,
Yep.
as a parent, I'm definitely more like, as a parent, right? Because I mean, that's your kid. But yeah, it's like that coaching, whoever came up with that got to crash and burn to learn. I don't know where it started. I know I heard it as an athlete and I, of course, adopted it immediately. But I mean, now I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying it to my own children. That's brilliant. And I love when you're like, I'll teach you how to fall, and then taking that out of the equation. So you take that
Yeah.
thing, and you like, I'll show you how to control the thing that you think is out of control. I think it's brilliant coaching, man. Kudos to you. And,
Thank you. Thank you.
the last thing I want to touch on is when you said, just throwing it is the hardest part, man. I think, and again, another quote that I don't know where it came from, somebody way smarter, it's like, bravery isn't the absence of fear, right? Bravery and courage is, when you are afraid, when you see the unknown and you step forward anyway, like that's what the bravery is. And so when you break that barrier, when they throw that pass for the first time, it's you just practice being brave. Like you are brave, that you're courageous, like that. Oh, I love that, man.
Giving me goosies, man. Giving me the goosies.
If only I was a little bit younger, I'd take a lesson from you, man. I'd take a lesson.
Hey, I got you. I
All
got
right.
you.
I need to learn how to fall though, because I got some osteoporosis in these bones now, so I gotta take
I'll
care
teach
of
you
it.
how to fall, man.
Right on. Okay, so now I'm gonna get into like your favorites part of the interview.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you, and I've been doing, I used to ask people like your top 3 or even your best all time, but that's always tough. So then I've now adopted this Mount Rushmore idea, right? So you're gonna give me your
Okay.
Mount Rushmore of tumblers, and they can be all time, they can be recent, but your Mount Rushmore of tumblers, people that you're like, yo, this is like, as far as tech and not necessarily innovation, but maybe creativity with tumbling,
Totally.
just the thing, the total package, right? Not necessarily somebody that'll throw the craziest thing, but they've got a little bit of everything. It's crazy, it's creative, it's also got a high amount of technique added to it. So give me your Mount Rushmore of tumblers.
All right.
And you can also include yourself. I wouldn't be mad about that.
No, no. There are plenty of people that I looked up to in the tumbling industry. I've been in here for a long time. Number one, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Cameron Bonton. What an absolute legend he is. I mean, one of the first people ever to compete a front double step out on the cheerleading world stage, and he did that back in 2013. If you do not know who he is, y'all people are sleeping on this man. He is unbelievably talented. People back in the day used to call him an alien. People back in the day used to say he was the avatar. He could front tumble, back tumble, twist. Oh my gosh, he was just insane. Absolutely incredible. My second, Twist Brown. Derek. Oh man. I personally have never met him, but he is just unbelievably talented. This guy just throws down. He does incredible things. I follow him on Instagram. He's just a great individual. He still is a voice in the cheerleading industry. Not only can he still tumble himself, but his athletes are just insane. I have mad respect for him. Um, let's see, 2 more. So many to choose from, so many. This one, I'm going to have to give it to this young buck who is on the cheerleading team with me right now. His name is Christopher. His last name, probably going to butcher it. It's Sloboda, something like that. But
Just S.
Chris, yes, he came from East Celebrity Elite, and I mean, he is the one who's really driving me to hone in and keep bringing it to the stage to this day. He is just absolutely incredible, so talented, so humble, such a bright light, and just a very, very talented young tumbler. So really, really would have to say him. And then,
Is he your kick double opposite?
yep, he's my kick double opposite.
There you
Yep,
go.
yep, yep. And
And
that is
it's
a
probably
dream
his
pass.
idea. It's probably his
No,
idea, right?
actually, that one was mine. That one
Okay.
was mine. Yeah, I told him. So the past 3 years we've been tumbling together, and I told him I was like, I really want to compete a kick double. Like I just really like it. It's something I've never done, and I want to put it down on the stage. Like it's something for the books. And he's had it in the past, but it's been like an on and off skill. And then this year he was like, "We're throwing the kick double." I was like, "Wait, what?" Like, nah, don't do that to me. He was like, "I've been practicing," and we got to compete it for the first time ever on the Jams national stage last weekend, and I'm very, very grateful for that man for allowing me to perform that skill. Because especially nowadays with like the industry changing, it's not about last pass. It's not about the most cool, creative, whoever throws the longest pass. It's a lot about synchronization, and hitting like a strong performance and a very technical skill. And no one on Cheer Force Infinity has a solo pass, so me and him, we tumble everything together. And for him to do the kick double for me personally was just a really, really great thing. And I'm very grateful for it.
That's dope.
And then the last one, oof, oof, man, it's a toss up between two.
You can do it. I'll let you do honorable mention. So you can do finish your Mount Rushmore and then like
Okay.
you do honorable mention.
Okay. Finishing my Mount Rushmore. I'm going to switch it up just because I also saw Jason's Mount Rushmore. So I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to say Casey Ballou from East Celebrity Elite. This guy is an absolute machine of a coach. I have learned so much from him. He's someone that I look up to as a coach. Just what he's done with bombshells, the amount of standing fulls he's able to produce. He is also just a very like-minded individual, high energy, great spirit, loves action sports. Just what he has been able to produce for the cheerleading industry as a whole is absolutely incredible. And so I would have to put him as a GOAT. One, as a tumbler, but more honestly as a coach. Just someone who's so inspirational, so technical, and understands the game. And then my honorable mention, we cannot forget him, the one and only John Cronin. Of course. Like, absolutely. Like, I would put him on Mount Rushmore. I really would. But I did see Jason, and he already put him up there. So he will be my honorable mention for sure.
Yeah, man.
Um, I've learned so much from him. Our history goes very, very far back. And there was a time too when I was on Jam staff and we were on it together, and everyone's like, "You're the next John Cronin." And I was like, dude, no way. Like, oh man, you can't say that about me. Like, he's still here. He's so good. And just like when we see each other in passing, he's just so funny. When he has short hair, I have short hair. When I have long hair, he has long hair. He's like, dude, I can't stop. Like, why are you copying? Like, it's just like we're just like destined, man. It's super cool. And also like just he's brought me on a ton of camps, and he really opened the door for me and created opportunities. So he is definitely my honorable mention, and he is a GOAT for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And dude, he's on my Mount Rushmore, and he's also. I would need a bigger mountain, but he's also on my Mount Rushmore of just high quality individuals in the industry.
Yep.
And so incredibly gracious with his wisdom and his knowledge. And if you meet him in passing, like, oh, he's a nice guy, positive guy, right? And obviously the more time you spend with him, the nicer you realize he is. Like, it's not, this is not just he's not just being polite, right? That's just
Mm-hmm.
how he is and who he is. And then, the more you get to know him, you hear his story of how he came up. I mean, his, parents in the military. And, if you ever get a chance, I'm not going to tell his story, but if you ever get a chance, ask him what his dad did when he touched out on a tumbling pass at a competition when he was younger, when he was like, 14 or 15. Just ask him. And
All right,
anybody
all
out
right.
there, if you happen to see John Cronin, ask like, hey, what did your dad do to you when you? And it wasn't like he didn't beat him. It's a story. It's a
Okay,
good
yeah,
story.
I'm over here
And
like, oh no, I don't know.
no, it was like, it was just it was a story of like, dude, that's so. it probably doesn't translate to 2024, but being another young man that kind of grew up in that same era, it's like what a perfect way to handle that situation. It's like, man, it makes you like, I wish my dad did that, right? I wish my dad punished me that way, but it's just really really cool. And he's such a down to earth guy. He's got time for everybody. Loves and I had the chance
Incredible.
to cheer with him. When I cheered at California All Stars, we cheered together. We were opposites most years, and he taught me an Arabian. He taught me how to bounce back. He taught me so many things. And there was my first Arabian ever. We were getting choreo, and Jeff McQueen was like, hey,
Yep.
somehow it ended up where I somehow ended up in the back center of the floor, and he was like, hey Bo, can you jump over this guy and then do an Arabian to the front? And I was like, yeah coach, I got you. He's like, all right. He turns around and walks away. I look at John Crow and I go, hey man, can you teach me how to do an Arabian real quick? Right. And so we get on a water
You
break,
never
and
say no in this sport.
no, never. He's like, can you do that? I'm like, yeah coach, I got you, no
Yeah, of
problem.
course.
Right. And then as soon as he's not looking, I'm like, hey man, I need you to teach me how to do this thing. But yeah, that day, first water break, John Cronin teaching me how to do an Arabian right then and there, and it's like, and it's just such a great guy, man. I love that guy with all my heart. He's my second favorite JC. It's like I love that guy so much. Awesome. Yeah, that was a solid Mount Rushmore. That was a solid
Thank you.
Mount.
Yep, yep,
And the
yep.
thing about, I know I'm going to keep talking about Cronin because man, I just love that guy so much. He came up like, if he would have just been born like 10 years later, he would be doing every coaching circuit. He would speak at every conference. He'd be
Hmm.
a multi-time world champion. Like the only reason he's not right now is just because he's my age. So it's like Worlds came out when we were already adults. They didn't even have adult divisions until like 2007, 2008. So it's like if he would have just been born 10 years later, he'd be multiple world champion, speaking at every tumbling conference in the world. It's like, it's just, yeah, I love that guy. I love that guy so much. I'm going to get him on here now. Now
Yep. Now,
we
yep.
got to get
See,
Cronin.
getting the wheels turning.
Got to get Cronin. Okay. My next question for you, sir, is do you have, and if so, I'm just going to ask you, what is your favorite skill to teach an athlete? Like if they're kind of working through progressions and there's a skill that you're like, oh, I can't wait until they're ready for this. Like, what is your favorite skill to teach somebody?
Um, it's between two.
Okay.
I love coaching kickfuls because I think they're highly underrated. Also, I use that as a progression before doubles. The kick is your stall, and when you bring your feet together and do the full, that's the second spin of your double. So I'm really teaching you how to wait before you learn the double, and it's just such a crowd pleaser, right? Like it's just such a sick skill to do. It's so fun. And then I have been on a front tumbling kick for a minute now. I love the front hand fronts, any sort of front hand connecting skill, front hand front full, front hand brannies. That is something that I really, really enjoy coaching. Uh, it's just really easy for me to break it down to kids. I have great drills for it. I can personally do it myself. You can go all the way to Rudy's front doubles. You get a kick Rudy. Now you have a grazer. It's just the front tumbling world. So, I mean, we'll just start at the front hand front because obviously, like, that's the first one you need before going into the other elite skills. But I think those two are probably my favorite to coach.
Another coincidence we just discovered. My favorite skill to teach was a kick full. That was my jam.
It's just so sick. It's such
Yeah.
a crowd pleaser. And like
Well,
once a kid gets it, they like think they're flying.
yes. And it's like I will never forget the first time I saw one. Um, I was at USA High School Camp in Santa Barbara in 1999, and we were on these concrete tennis courts for like
No.
the opening ceremonies. Yeah, and I'm beating myself up right now because I can't recall his name, but there was a guy who came out when they do like the spirit explosion, right?
Yep.
So they all come out, and Adam Vasolovich and Stacy. She wasn't Vasolovich back then; they weren't married yet. But they do a toss, awesome toss Cupie. So like toss for young
Yep.
bucks, toss Cupie,
One,
toss
yep.
awesome,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. One arm.
And I had never seen that before, and I'm like, he threw her and caught her with one hand. Like this is absolutely bananas, right? And then his name's Roger. Oh, thank goodness it came back to me. I don't know
Nice.
his last. I'm losing his last name, but then Roger, and I didn't know it at the time. Obviously, I just had to do some research. He comes running out and does a round up back handspring kick full on concrete, And that moment, it did two things. The first thing it did was like, I'm gonna learn how to do that.
Yep.
That was the first thing I want, whatever that was, because I mean, like, I had never seen anything like that in my life, and it was on concrete. So I'm like, I'm gonna learn how to do that. And number two, I was like, this is the sport for me. Like, I'm in from here on out. Like, you can do that in this. I'm like, let's go.
Bro,
You
that's
know,
rad. That's so
uh,
sick. I
so it
love
was
that.
like, and immediately, like the very next year is when I learned how to do it, and that became my jam. And dude, I love kick fulls. And I remember the first time I got to compete a kick double, it was dope. The first time I got to compete, it was at NCAA All Star Nationals. That was the first time I got to compete. It was
That's a big
sick.
stage to do it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome, man.
yeah, man.
That's
Yeah,
so
look,
cool.
all you young kids, look me up. Look up NCAA top 10 male tumbling passes of 2006. Your boy's number 10 ends with a kick double. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, that's some old hat. It's a grainy video on YouTube. Looks like it was taken on a Razor iPhone.
You're like
Yeah,
in this class.
people look at it like that ain't you. It was me, dog. I had long hair. I got you. All right. Yeah, that was man, cool story. We once this interview is done, like we're gonna need to hang out at the next
Oh, absolutely,
yeah,
man.
at NCA. I'm gonna find you, bro. We're gonna kick it. We're gonna kick
Oh,
it for
let's
sure.
run it. Let's do it.
Okay, so favorite skills to teach: kick full and front hand front, like just
Yep.
front tumbling. Yeah, those are good. Yeah, yeah. Okay, now my next question is: I know we already touched on this a little bit, so we might have already answered it. But what do you think you would be doing now if you weren't a world traveling tumbling coach?
Oh man. I think if I truly never stepped foot and didn't start going into cheerleading at all, um, my dream was always to be an actor. Like that's truly what I wanted to do. That's why I went to the performing arts school. I graduated as a theater major. When I was younger, I did do a lot of main stage. I've done a couple of local commercials. As I've gotten older, I've done like some TV shows, and I think that's where I would have really just strived and put all of my passion in. It is kind of a cool full circle moment that I am able to use this cheerleading that I have now and these parkour skills to do some sort of stunt work. I've also been on The Masked Dancer, The Masked Singer with Santuan, with John Cronin, Tony G. He is the cheerleading guy in LA, if you guys do not know. And I'm very grateful that he gives me calls to this day. So if there is an opportunity, I still get to put my foot in there, which is great. But I mean, if I really didn't do cheer, I think I just would have dove full force as an actor. Now, does that mean I necessarily would have made it or been like this huge Disney star? Like, who's to say? Who knows? But that just wasn't the path for me. Um, at the end of the day, if I could have just been a working actor, I would have been very, very happy. Right?
Yeah, that's awesome. So just in front of people, like in front of people, putting on a show, entertaining. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
I am an entertainer.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Okay, so this last little bit, no question attached, but I just wanted to open it up to you. I want to give you the floor, and if there's anything that's been on your heart, anything on your mind, anything recently that's come up, in cheerleading or in life, or if there's anybody you want to thank, or if there's anybody you want to give a shout out to, or any story you want to tell, I just want to give you the floor, give you an opportunity. I wouldn't be as arrogant to call this a platform just yet.
Yeah.
But if you want to say anything to my mom, but
I care.
seriously, if
I
you
can.
want to say if you want to say anything to anybody, I just want to say the floor is yours, and take an opportunity to say anything you want to say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I love cheerleading, man. I just, there's so many great people in the sport, and I think it is really funny how many people at some point in their life have done something involved in cheer. It is a very, very small world, and you don't realize that until you start talking to people. And, for me, when I meet people and I tell them like, oh yeah, like I'm involved in cheerleading, like I do tumbling and things like that, they're just like, you're a you're a cheerleader? Like, wait, what? Like still like a cheerleader? So if it's something you're passionate about, like there is a lot of opportunities in this industry to make a career out of it. There's a lot of ways, whether you want to be a choreographer, a coach, a tumbling director, you want to do music, let's go, Mr. Who's Infinity doing all of Cheer Force. Thank you so much. Like, there are just so many opportunities for you to do it. And if you are truly passionate about cheerleading, or whatever your craft may be, go full force in it. Don't listen to the no's, don't listen to the haters, because at the end of the day, you're only going to get criticized by those doing less than you, never more than you. And those aren't the people that you want to be surrounding yourself with. So that just goes for the young bucks, the older generation. If you have something on your mind that you want to pursue, then go pursue it. I truly believe the universe is going to give you the opportunities you need to succeed as long as you are passionate and you put yourself out there. That's what it comes down to.
Man, great advice. Absolutely great advice. And I could not possibly agree with you more. I mean, the whole reason I'm doing this is just because I want to, right? Like I'm sitting here, I'm like, you know what? I have all this professional, sound and studio equipment. And I was like, and you know what? I know really cool people. And even if I don't know cool people, I know people who know people and I can get in contact with cool people like I'm doing right now. So
Totally.
man, great advice. Outstanding. All right, tell everybody before we say goodbye, tell everybody who wants to see the One Shot Gang and other things, where can we follow you on all the platforms? Hit everybody up. Tell us your ads.
Branden, Branden, the Hunter. Branden the Hunter. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on TikTok. I do tumble tips. I do drills. I do skills. I post myself when at competitions. Any program that I work with, I try to go watch them and create like highlight videos of them. Go check it out. You guys are going to have a great time. It's a super fun platform. Hope you guys enjoy.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you again, man. It's been so much fun. I know we're going to talk after, we hit end record and we're going to kick it in NCA next weekend. And good luck.
Absolute.
Good luck with you and Infinity. And
Thank you.
I can't wait to see that kick double pass in person.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got you. Don't worry.
All right, man. Later.